That's right. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for checking in with the Chicago Style Podcast. I am your host, Brian Schyler, with Murph in the Morning right here. Alex Alvarado, who has again showed up here on the Chicago Style Podcast. Maybe he wandered in. We don't know if he had a car or a bus pass, perhaps, or just we had the gate code, apparently, and now he's in here, which is great because nobody else likes to show up. And ladies and gentlemen, I want to tell you something. It's a very special day here on the second season of the Chicago Style Podcast because we have celebrated world-renowned author and apparently my childhood friend. And we didn't even know that or realize that. Scott Anthony is here, and he's got his brand new book, Smoke, Confessions of a Cuban Cigar Smuggler. And listen, he's way more than just that. This guy is an entrepreneur. He is a street guy from the streets of Chicago and my hometown, Evanston. If you're ever on the north side, which would be Rogers Park, that area, getting up into Evanston, Loyola, that whole area, this guy used to run everything from Loyola North, probably to the Baha'i Temple, and maybe a little further, Kenosha, and who knows what. I don't know what the Royals were doing back then, but I was sure scared of them and the Crows and all of our friends, Lincoln School, Nichols, and ETHS, Evanston Township High School. For those of you who didn't go to high school, like I didn't, I just went and they gave me a piece of paper at the end because I refused to leave. But we are so happy and honored that you're here, sir. Tremendous, like I said, author.
Thank you.
Yes.
Welcome, Scott.
I got to come in with and I have to. It's kind of hard to follow that entrance, but I got to follow. The first thing I have to say is I'm not here to glorify crime. It was 30 years. Let's see. It's been, how long has it been since I broke the law? When did we get here?
I didn't like your parking spot. I didn't like your 20 minutes ago. I didn't like your parking spot.
It's been 30 years since I was in the streets, and I like to say I'm a street guy in remission because it never leaves you. When you're my next book, this is my first book, by the way.
Beautiful.
Smoke, Confessions of a Cuban Cigar Smuggler, and it was going to be the only one I wrote because it's a period of time that I could live with. I have a guilty conscience. I sometimes feel down on myself. And then I started talking about it. It's coming out. I'm not glorifying it. I do get excited. I do get passionate. I smile at the memories because as an old man, you look back and you say, man, how did I make it through?
How am I even here?
How am I even here? So back to that. I'm not glorifying it. I went through a lot of stuff, and I got to clear up something else before people start throwing mud at us. Because if you start talking about a gangster and a criminal from Evanston, people are going to be going, boo, come on. So he from Baha'i Temple to Main Street, I ran the paper routes. I got a nickel from every paper boy.
The Kankakee Journal. That's right.
What happened is my mother saved my life at I don't remember what age. Let's call it 12 years old. My mother saw that I was probably not going to live to see my teens.
Oh my God.
And she moved to Evanston. But I didn't move with her. My body went, but my mind, heart, and soul stayed in Chicago, running the streets. Every day I came back to where I felt comfortable. And for all intents and purposes, I was a street urchin. I was a kid from the other side of the tracks. I actually walked with, in my next book, I talk about it, I walked with a pimp. I had this whole street mannerism. I spoke a foreign dialect. It wasn't even English. And when I moved to Evanston, I met these 9-year-old girls. They were the siblings of these older people that I hung out with, and I realized I was an idiot. I said, I can't go on. I don't want to go through life as an idiot. And then I have a saying I use often. I didn't coin it, but I use it. I don't know where I picked it up, but I didn't have role models when I was young.
Sure.
But I had a lot of guys I knew I didn't want to grow up and be like them.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
When you see a 30 or 35-year-old man and he's riding a kid's bicycle as his main transportation, you know he missed the bus.
Right.
Literally.
Yeah,
and I said, I don't want that. But how and where do you start? What is that first step? My father left when I was 4. My mother had we talked about it. My mother worked first at the Beef and Stein on Howard Street. I don't know if you remember that place.
Beef and Stein.
Beef and Stein.
But she was a waitress.
Yeah, near the Gold Coin.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then she worked at the Chicago main newsstand. And
my heart.
But it was $2.70 an hour, so that we didn't get very far on that.
No, sir.
And I sold newspapers outside St. Nick's at the church. We made 10 cents a piece on Sundays. We were out there from 6 a.m. First, we went to the warehouse and we stuffed them. So you had these tables. I couldn't imagine how it's done now, but back then it was all manual. You had all that paperwork and advertisement all down a table, and you just went along, boom, 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 stuffing the paper. We made a dime.
Wow.
And life was cruel and it was brutal. So a lot of guys, I never spoke about this stuff. It was 30 plus years I had it. It was repressed. Many people, when I did that gang documentary in Chicago, I did a gang documentary. It's, I think, West Love. That's Josh Hord's site on YouTube. I did this gang documentary, and I had people phoning me because I'm now a successful businessman.
Sure.
I have 8 children and 16 wives, and and I run a big business, and my life is completely straightened out. And they're like, I never knew that. And of course, it was repressed. I didn't want to live that. But I moved to Evanston.
Started to see the light a little bit.
I started, but I felt I was very insecure because of guys like you that actually had, and he didn't have many steps ahead of me. You also had some difficulties, but there were people in Evanston. You guys ever see that video online where the coach is talking to these people? They're all lined up at like the 20th yard on a football field. And he's like, if you had a father at home, take a step forward. If you had a car, take a step forward. Well, I would have been dead last. I would have taken 6 steps backwards. And that was my life, and it was my reality.
Very same, very same.
So I get to Evanston, and these people, and I don't want to offend anybody on either side of the aisle, but these were real people.
Right.
These were people, most of the people that I got the honor and privilege to rub elbows with in Evanston, they all became something. There's very few people that you can say they were lost. Very, very, very few. I couldn't even think of one.
They had a path
Julio,
already.
Julio's one.
Julio, right. Julio. Wow.
But in my world, from the city, I can only name 2, myself and one other person that made it forward.
Wow. And thank God your mom moved to Evanston.
She saved my life.
So you could incubate that.
Exactly. And luckily for me, I didn't meet the creme de la creme from the beginning.
And Southeast Evanston is like that, though. You can be there amongst multimillionaires in your life, and at the very same time, also be from a 1-bedroom apartment, not 3 blocks away from that multimillionaire's house, and somehow the mix starts to shape you, maybe a little bit. I think that was maybe your experience as we found out on the phone. He called me from London 48 hours ago, and we started to talk.
Oh, by the way, here's the bill.
Oh, yeah. I hope you take a check. Let me see if I can get this out too. Yeah.
Well, when I was first in Evanston, so moved there at about 12. I was a truancy specialist. I didn't attend any school, but I was enrolled in. I lived at Angel Guardian Orphanage. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that.
Yes.
They took me away from my mother. The state did.
Oh my gosh.
I was at Oak Therapeutic, Montefiore, which was right here.
Yeah.
It was on Ashland and 14th.
Yeah.
I was a gang kid, so it was problems everywhere I went.
Right.
And you had a battle, like the Vikings meeting, the British on a bridge, and it was all the time. And eventually in Evanston, so all of my first friends were in Evanston were the brothers, the Church Street brothers. You remember that?
Yeah.
So it was me and all these black guys, and I hung out with them, and I felt just at home. That was where I was at home, because the kids with the sweaters tied around their neck and the penny and the loafer, they couldn't bring me home.
No.
Their parents would smell it, and I dressed different. I spoke, I walked different. It was just
they didn't want you in their house. Even if they pretended.
Yeah. And I don't blame them.
Yeah.
And then I met by default, I met the Crow brothers.
Yes, I know them very well.
And they were
tough kids.
They were the tough guys
in Evanston.
of Evanston. Well, prior to them, there were the Woods brothers.
Right, right.
They were even another level of tough, mean guys. But I met the Crows. They were my age, and we became brothers. And it's a brotherhood to this day. I still visit them every year.
Sure.
We go to the North Woods of Wisconsin to their cabin and fight with each other for a week. I graduated from Evanston,
right?
And so I educated myself. That day I met those two girls, and I realized I was a dumbass. I left their house damaged. I was hurt because they didn't humiliate me. They didn't call me out, but I saw it. 8 and 9-year-old girls. I was about 14, and they were light years ahead of me. They were smart. They were polished. They knew about everything in the world that I didn't know about. I knew the streets. And I left there with my tail between my legs, going home thinking, you can't be a dummy.
Wow.
And then I started going to school. So I graduated from Evanston Township with honors.
That's awesome.
And I wrestled. I was a pretty good wrestler.
And you wrestled, which got you maybe towards your martial arts. And,
Coach
George.
I was a tough kid.
Yeah, right.
Coach George loved me. He loved me because I came from the inner city. We don't know about it's just people from the inner city in the 70s.
Right.
It was grittier.
Right.
True grit, if you will.
True grit.
And so I did very well in wrestling, and I had a future, potential future, but I didn't think I could make it at a university. And I was outgrowing everyone from my generation of high school was going on to universities, but I wasn't. So I went right back to the streets. So right back to where I felt comfortable. And when I was 17 and a half years old, before I graduated high school.
Wow.
Okay, again, I'm going to talk about stuff that might scare some people.
Sure.
Might be alarmed. If it happened to you, if you were one of my, what would you say? If
contemporaries or something.
No, if you were one of my victims.
Oh, jeez, right.
I apologize.
Kicking indoors.
I give you a soft apology.
Sure.
Because there is no honor among thieves.
No, my mom always told me that.
There's a certain gray line where you can be had and taken.
Sure.
Because you're crossing that line. So there's no way I was going to hit some old lady over the head and take her purse.
Right.
But if you were doing something illegal, you might have seen me at your front door.
Right, because that's an opportunity.
That's an opportunity, and we also, because I came from the street gang life,
right?
And it was very hard to get away from that, because when it's all you know and you're in. When you start to leave, there's a lot of, it's kind of like that old mob thing.
Right.
There's one way in and death on the way out. And,
right.
But I weaned myself out of there. I grew up, educated myself, but I came back with a vengeance. And not only, I came back bigger, stronger, smarter, and I was able to put together a lot of scores, more than I could count in hours.
Wow.
And so when I started kicking it indoors and doing the official transfer of property from someone else's possession into my own,
right?
And normally narcotics and lots of money.
And these are tough kids too.
Some of them, it was always a 50-50 shot when you go through that front door.
Right.
You don't know what's on the other side.
Right.
I did surveillance and I did research but you don't know, are they sitting there with a gun? Did they hear you? And so it was a very volatile period of my life, but that led to a full-blown career as a drug dealer because I created a clientele.
And then you had merchandise that you had to.
And then I had to replenish merchandise, and I couldn't, planning these jobs, it wasn't like going to 7-Eleven.
Oh.
And someone asked me recently, well, how did you find out? Well, the club scene, the friend scene. I might be sitting down with you, Brian, and we went to high school together, right. and I run into you at a restaurant,
Main Cafe, or something.
And we start talking, and you go, hey, did you know that John Doe? He's selling coke. He's a big dealer, and I go, really? Does he still live over there on Clark Street or Ridge? And you're like, yeah, man, I go to his house all the time, and I go, really? You just knock on the door, and he goes, yeah, the downstairs door is a buzzer. It doesn't even work. Why? You want something? I'll give you his number. yeah, give me his number.
Right.
And so it just happened. And a lot of people, when you're say hello to the bad guy,
Yeah.
when you're the bad guy,
Sure.
people come to you. They want everybody. There's this romanticism about gangsterism. People
Al
want to.
Capone.
Everybody.
Jesse James.
Everybody. You myself.
Right.
They would come to me and go, hey, Scott, I heard you ripped off such and such. I'd be like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Of course, right.
Because people started, did you happen to know Tom Sepko?
Name's very familiar to me. I'm not sure. But Tom Sepko.
Because he was my third victim. And he started telling everybody, I know it's Scott, because I was wearing all black. My first one was no mask.
Right.
My second was a mask, and I just got more sophisticated as I went along. So by the time Tom was my third.
We talked about that.
and it was masks and gloves, but I started.
Just the old school ski mask?
Yes, the old school, the very old school ski mask and black gloves. And I have big hands, so they always had to be tight so I could function.
Sure.
I could do everything without ever having to take them off. So I had special gloves, and I started using zip ties. They were very convenient. They were cheap to get, and I could carry as many as I needed, and they were disposable. And I used this. It was like a Navy sweater. Do you remember the old heavy knit Navy sweater?
Maybe with the
that had the patches,
the nylon patches up here,
and the elbow. Probably
Uncle Dan's on Belmont.
That's exactly where I got it.
Yeah,
that's exactly where I got it.
Uncle Dan's
remember
on
they had
Belmont.
That machine gun,
yeah,
and the grenades on the staircase.
Right.
They had a display. It was cool.
Uncle Dan's on Belmont.
That was it.
I didn't know you guys were related. Uncle Dan's.
So
every day we're getting closer.
So he's I had and it contoured my body, and there were very few people that were buff in the 70s and 80s. It was very uncommon, and I was a wrestler and a martial artist, so I was jacked. And he said, but I painted my eyes black.
That's amazing.
So I would paint black around here because I wanted to throw that
business, right? And you're scary.
Yeah, and
you're scary.
And I just want him to say, I don't know who it was. I think it was a black guy.
Yeah, right.
and he said it was Scott. I could tell by his body.
Right.
Unbelievable. Your mannerisms, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I tried to, and I won't mention this specific.
We can go. We can go around it.
Right. We'll go around
because it's a long time ago.
The specific moment, but we ended up talking about something that was very familiar to both of us. It was a late night moment where he may or may not have been involved. And I'm like, wait a minute. I remember a friend of ours, and I'll just mention his name if that's okay.
That's up to him. He's not here to defend himself. But let me tell you where he was that night.
Right.
He was sitting at a stool at the front door.
That's it.
He was
Steve. We'll call him Steve.
He was sitting in the stool at the front door.
Right.
And the office door was a couple feet away.
My goodness.
And he just got snatched by the hair.
Right.
And
he did long blonde hair, muscular.
And he knows me well.
Sure.
And he knows that he used to say it. He just look at me and go, you just don't fuck with Scott.
No.
Because I was intense. I became that guy. Did any of you young fellas?
Guys, this happened. Because I was there.
I'm going to tell you something.
30 years I'm solving in 10 minutes.
I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to tell you something else you might or might not. But did you ever see the movie Thief with James Caan?
Oh, sure.
Yes.
James Caan. What a great movie.
I was.
Pinch me. Otherwise, get off my Cadillac.
I was him.
Yeah.
I was that intense and that hardcore, and there was no flexibility with me.
Great Chicago
So
movie.
a couple weeks after that thing happened.
Sure.
Me and another guy showed up there. Me and both of the guys who might have been there that night.
With some of the cash you received.
Well, we went to the bar.
Right.
We sat there, and the manager came, and he got really close.
Ooh.
And he wanted to hear the voices because, like I told you, I had some inside help, but
sure.
I'm not going to reveal that.
Right.
But and my friend was wearing the watch while we were sitting there.
The watch. Goodbye. And I won't bring up a last name, but a friend of ours who we both know, a guy named Jim. I don't know. You said
Jim wasn't involved.
Okay, right. He wasn't involved.
He had nothing. He had nothing to do with it. Right. He wasn't the kind of guy that you could involve in something like that, because when you're on the street. Now people are going to criticize me. I've been getting shit thrown at me for a couple weeks. So you're talking too much.
Yeah, but this really happened. This was a real actual hold up that I was on the other side.
You were the victim.
Where I was the victim involved in, and I can tell you because I was there, this did happen. So these are real stories coming from him, which is amazing because look at the success he is now.
Well, it probably, I don't, look, that I did what I did. And again, I'm not boasting, but I spent 30 years of my life. How is profanity on this show?
It's fine. It's fine.
A little bit,
sure,
a lot. Can I be who I am?
Yeah. Please be genuine.
Okay,
because that's what makes who you are.
Look, I was a street guy for about 33 years of my life.
Right.
I lost 33 years of my life to the streets. Do not have a fucking right to tell my story.
Yes, you do.
It's 30 years ago. I haven't broken a law in 30 years. I ground out a life from zero. I said never again, and that's when the cigar thing happened. So, Again, there's my book.
Love it, man.
Go on Amazon. You'll probably see a link here. There might be one down here, maybe over there. But go on there, get this book, click on it. I promise you won't be bored. And the next 3 that are coming this year, oh boy, do I have a story to tell.
And I almost wonder, because you're an author now and you're almost 4 books deep with the amount of information and real true life stories that he has. And I know that because I was there. Like he said, I was a victim of this.
Yeah, you know the other end of it, which is pretty awesome because I was actually worrying about my legitimacy because my life is so wild and crazy that it's easy and understandable for people to say bullshit.
Well, listen, here on my own show,
right?
I lived in a movie theater for 9 years. People are like, bullshit. Listen, it turns out my dad lives over in Germany. He's some madman who owns a biomedical company. I would have never known that. I joined the Marines. I worked at nightclubs my whole life. During COVID, I found out this guy's been making money over there, hand over fist, incredibly.
Yeah, you told me about it. We spoke about it.
And I know this. Evanston produces very interesting kids. Like I said, it's this weird dichotomy where Lee Street Beach, Dempster Street Beach, for those of you who are familiar with Chicago, we all know Dempster. There's multi-million-dollar mansions over there. You can read any comic book and read about them.
And we grew up with all these people.
Right. And just a few blocks away, you could be living in a studio apartment that you could barely keep the lights on because your mom was maybe a secretary at a high school or your dad was a janitor. Your dad was a janitor at the local supermarket and you guys were barely keeping it together. Yet every day you rubbed elbows with these multi-millionaires. The Oscar Mayer mansion was just a few blocks from Lincoln School.
There were so many successful,
go right ahead.
high-level people in Evanston.
This is your spot.
So anyway, I started doing the drug. We called them burns because where we came from in the streets, the gangs used to wear a sweater. So you had these two-tone sweaters, your patches, your name, and we would burn it. We took it from someone. We literally, at a certain point in the 70s, you burned it. You set it on fire. You took pictures. It was kind of like the disrespecting them on purpose. And so we'd burn them. So you'd go, let's go burn a sweater, or I just burned a sweater. So when we started doing me and Brett Hodges, we did our first drug burn. I was 17 and a half. Brett was 15.
Yeah.
And we came in locked and loaded, and we took him down. And he happened to have mob connections, and he knew how to track me down because one of my good friends, Mac, was the restaurant scene, and he worked at Umbria. I don't know if anybody remembers. High-end restaurant, Belden Stratford, Fullerton.
Belden Stratford, of course, across from Lincoln Park Zoo.
That's right. So he worked there, and we had purchased off this guy some party favorites a few times.
Sure.
And my friend Mac probably never thought that bringing Scott to this guy's house would end up where it did, but they came and got him. So they came and snatched him at work, and he said, wait a minute. At that time, we were working for this mob lady, renting apartments for the mob, that they're gambling places.
Sure.
So we were not connected, but we had somebody at least to say
you knew a guy.
Knew a guy who knew a guy, and so they came and snatched Bill up, but he got a phone call into his direct handler, and that person said, "Wait a minute, he's not alone.
Right?
Be careful what you do." So they didn't do anything to him, and all they said is they wanted me. They said, we want the guy with the evil in his eyes. Because when I turn a switch,
right, sure,
I go bad.
Right.
And I was walking through the hallway at Evanston Township. You remember the T where the office was?
Sure, right there.
The office was filled with Chicago cops.
Bacon,
Some
wow.
Some Evanston cops and
Right.
Chicago cops. And I saw that, and I was like, oh, I got to get out of here.
Yeah, you knew what that was for.
So I didn't get to graduate high school in 82, which was
Right.
my graduating year. I had to postpone it to half of 83 because I had to be scarce and
Right.
invisible.
Right.
And I created this aura about myself. I was very shrewd. And my friend Mac called me up and he said, I had to have a sit down with these people. They're these heavies is what they were called back then.
to squash this.
And he said, you got to give it back. And I said, there's not a chance. It's not. It's not happening.
Once it's in my possession.
That's it. I said, this is my opportunity to get out of the hole I'm in,
right,
and move forward, because I'm talking about there was a lot of product. 3 guys we needed to carry it. So
holy cow,
there was a lot of product,
Sure.
and I went and got my mother an FOID card to buy a weapon. And I took her to Shure Galleries on Devon. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah, sure. On this
Devon
way you
and
could
McCormick.
this way you could hold a piece if you needed it.
I got a pump shotgun, and I
got the Mossberg.
I'll show you. I have an image. It's going to be in my next book. It's a diagram of a stick man on the floor. I slept. Our front door was here. Our back door was here, and I slept right in the middle, behind the dining room table. Wow. So if anybody came in, they would never expect this.
Yeah, from the wow.
That's all and here's the amazing thing, Brian. My poor mother, she never asked me ever, what the fuck are you doing sleeping on the dining room floor? She never asked me. Because we only had one little air conditioner in our house ever in my life, and that was the room it was in. So sometimes we would all sleep there in the summer.
Right.
And then it would freeze over. That old piece of shit would freeze over, and the front would get icy. And we were dirt poor. And so she never asked me. And every morning I tidied up. I moved my improvised bed, hid my shotgun, and went to school. Wow. I finished school. And the whole time I was working at Dominic's grocery store.
Wow, and that's not on South Boulevard.
No, the one on Church Street.
Yeah, I know it.
Store 31.
Yeah.
And I knew everybody from Evanston, just like I knew everybody from Chicago. And then what I did, and this was fairly shrewd, I put the product away. When I got it, I figured people are going to want this, and I was getting offers. So I hit the street. I went to a few guys I knew in the city that might want to buy it. And I just wasn't stupid enough to go for the deal. It was like pennies on the dollar. And they were like, hey, man, I'll give you $5,000 for all of it right now. Cash.
Right.
And after those first offers, and they were persistent. I said, this is worth more, because I didn't know would you know today what to do with a big bag full of that product? I didn't know what to do. I'd been removed from it for several years, and the only experience I had prior to that was selling joints out in front of Sullivan High School. I used to roll them up and sell them for $1 when I was 9. And because I was in the gang, I didn't get robbed or taken because I had people.
You had family.
I had a group.
Right.
And so I didn't know what to do, and I hid it. And because I'm just lucky that my brain works well enough, I hid it at different places. So we had this bale of weed that was half the size of this table, and it was in a Marlboro box in Spanish.
Wow.
And it was this big, and it was where they put the cartons and how they shipped them.
Sure.
And that's how they would send the weed over from South America. They'd get cardboard boxes, they'd pack it dense, and so I put it all away. And I started shopping it around, and before long, I became a retailer instead of wholesaling it. And so I just started distributing, and then before long, like in the movie Blow, I need more.
And now you got to travel maybe to South America or Mexico or other places.
Well, where I went consistently, which was absolutely awesome for me, was South Florida. So I had different people going back and forth.
What a shock.
How about the Durflers? Did you know the Durflers?
Yeah.
Ned and
I know the name very well.
I'm trying to think of his Carl and Ned Derfler.
I know the name Carl Derfler.
I'm gonna avoid surnames
A lot
here,
of Germans.
but our friend Dean sent.
He did it anyway.
It doesn't matter. Dean was prosecuted.
Dean, I love you, buddy. You know that.
Dean did 8 years, I believe, federal time.
I was 9 years old. I am friends with this guy playing with my GI Joes out on Lee Street in Chicago Avenue in front of the South Branch Library.
Shelter. Did you ever see him when he worked at Shelter?
You know what? I think I did bump into him. I think he grabbed me one day by the wrist and said, "Brian Jurgens."
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, and I just go ahead. But
so anyway, Dean had been involved with some transport, and the Derflers got caught.
Yeah.
in northern Florida, like.
Jacksonville,
exactly where they got caught, and then Dean did 8 years. So it just blew up. It's like you've got this product, and let me be clear about something, because I'm smiling and I'm passionate. There was not a stigma against cocaine in the 1980s.
No, I have to agree.
It was the Hollywood go-to recreational fun thing.
Right.
I didn't think I was a Puritan at that point.
Right.
I was lifting weights, wrestling, boxing, martial arts, and I was way against drugs. But they were calling cocaine vitamin C. And the movie stars were doing it.
Sure,
the rich man's aspirin, right?
It was very common.
Studio 54, all that.
I was selling it to my teachers and faculty at the school.
Wow.
I was hanging out with them, going out with them, and I actually took this big football I had of that white stuff, and I taped it. Back then, I don't even know if duct tape existed. It was electrical black tape.
Yeah, sure.
I taped the whole thing up, and I happened to have a key to her house because we had a personal friendship. And so I went there and I hid it. And this was because this was before I was selling it.
Sure.
I didn't know what to do, and I wanted it safe. If the guys with the crooked noses came looking for me, they didn't find anything.
Right.
And she called me up one day in panic. "What did you put in my closet?" I'm like, wait, what happened? She said, what are you doing? I said, wait, calm down. What happened? I got some friends over, wanted to smoke some weed. And I said, "Oh, great. I got this." I cut it open and it's not weed. And I go, okay.
No.
Next day I went and got it.
Right, sure.
And then I got into business and I hit the streets running. And there was a time.
And this was in Florida.
Well, no. This was Chicago.
Okay,
I went to Florida to replenish my stock.
Okay.
And so it was in between going to Florida, and people that are not in the streets, they have a hard time understanding, like, how do you meet? And first of all, I had street from an early age. So I knew a lot of people. My name preceded itself, and people trust other street people. They know who knows him. He's okay.
Right.
He's not an informant.
Right.
And he's not
a cop.
And he's not an informant, a cop, and he's not square.
Right.
He's okay. So when you're involved in crime, everybody knows each other. People come to you and they offer counterfeit money, weapons, stolen property. I mean, people came to us just like somebody came to me with that place that you worked, and I paid a visit there. They would they would come with semi trucks. "Hey, I know a truck that's going to be moving this product.
Right.
I know a deal's going to be going down this day. I know where somebody's hiding this." And it was a web of connections and people that we knew. And I had a couple other friends. My good friend Stu the Jew, he knew everybody. So one time I had safe houses all over the city, and the safest houses that I used and discovered was somebody's actual place. Because every time that I tried to rent like an apartment and leave stuff there and only come in frequently, they notice. People notice.
Sure.
And one time I was renting a high-rise apartment on Sheridan.
That'll do it.
And I remember going there with the people from the apartment people. I actually knew the people from the apartment people, so shout out to them.
Right.
I knew the owner, and he would hook me up with apartments. Bob Scholl. Bob is deceased a few years ago.
Goodness.
So I went there to look at the apartment, and then Stu was one of the only people I trusted. There were I've trusted people with different facets.
Right.
But I trusted Stu with almost everything. And I told him, hey, I'm looking at this building. No way, no way. Such and his father. The son's a cop. The father's a cop.
Wow,
they're fucking nosy, Scott. They're going to go.
So there you have the street alarm system.
Right. So what I did, girls that I dated, friends I hung out with, I would get the keys to their house. I'd chip them off a couple bucks here and there, and I would hide it in their house. So hiding it in their house, they didn't know where it was. They're not going to be pinching, and they didn't tell anybody.
Taking a taste.
Because I didn't come when they were home. I avoided when they were there. So I would come in. I just had every type of different hiding spot. I had the key.
You're out, hello,
but
goodbye.
I don't want them to know because of temptation.
It's better off that they don't know.
And it's way better.
Right.
And so then it was a career in narcotics. And it was, I know it was wrong. I know what I did, but it was exhilarating.
Sure.
That adrenaline is addictive.
And the money.
Of course. And then somebody said to me, one of the main reasons, and you guys will all understand
maybe the money,
what I'm going to say, and it's also the women.
Right.
Because the low-hanging fruit, when I was hanging out on a corner and throwing up fingers and twisting, and you don't get the prime USDA. You get the low-hanging fruit.
SCR, right?
Right. Well, we used to have this thing. That was what we would throw up, and then they'd twist up the fingers later.
Yeah.
And so I liked
tough kids, man.
All the street kids were tough. It doesn't matter what neighborhood you're from. You don't got a father at home. Your mother makes $2.70 an hour, and you got to fight to get to school. You're going to be a tough kid. And I tell people,
and protect your mom, I
managed.
You're the man of the house.
I managed and trained and advised many boxers in my life.
Wow.
And I know what tough is. And I'll tell you one thing: when you open up your refrigerator and there's nothing in there but the sticker in the back, that's hunger and that's tough.
Yeah.
And so people who grow up under those circumstances, they're stronger inside, not physically.
Right.
I had a teacher, Andy, who used to say to me, he'd see me down, what's wrong, Scott? And I'm, life in Evanston, because I was going to Oak Therapeutic School in Chicago, and they would bus me and my other thug friends into the school every day. And I said, everyone in Evanston is doing great. My mother didn't have a car until I bought her first car at 52 years old.
Hey.
And he said, look, Scott, you're going to do better than all of them. I'm looking at him like, what?
Yeah.
And he's like, you're stronger. And I'm thinking about bench pressing. And I'm thinking about the captain of the football team benching 400 pounds. And I'm like, stronger than them? What do you mean? And I didn't get it until later. It's internal strength.
Being honed.
It's what you can take and keep going.
Every day.
Coming
back for more.
Mental fortitude.
Right.
And it's ground into you, so you're not susceptible to discouragement as easy as other people. And I don't, and this will sound cliche, but if I knock on the door and it doesn't open, I'm kicking it down.
Right.
And literally and figuratively. So I did the drug thing, and it was actually the closest as a street person can get to celebrity, is being the disco dust provider.
Right.
I went to every club.
You're an important person.
Exactly, for a moment.
Yeah.
But I knew the difference.
You're needed.
Believe me, I wasn't. I never lied to myself, or my hypocrisies had limits, because when I sold cigars, I sold to Michael Jordan.
Right.
I sold to, one of my customers was a billionaire. I sold to a lot of well-known business people in Chicago. And it was, once I got out of the federal system, once I was cleaned up, and I said, no more crime. I'm done. Easier said than done, right? Because don't have money. I have a dream. I want to open my gym.
Right.
I already had a gym, but my gym was, I don't know, 4,000, 6,000 square feet, whatever it was. And I wanted bigger and better because I wanted it to go somewhere. I wanted to really build a life and be a somebody. And I have to come back. I'm living in Mexico because.
Now, this is Mexico City. This is Cancun.
I lived everywhere, but I based myself in Guadalajara, Puerto Vallarta,
sure.
Mexico City. I had a lot of roots there too. So I'm lucky that I'm a person with a lot of different intrigues. I'm intelligent enough to know when to say enough is enough, and it was very hard. It was like kicking. I'm serious. It was like kicking a drug habit because I had to come home every month to sign and report. And I would stay with my friends, and I would stay with Brett. Brett's a prominent figure in every one of my books and in my life, and I miss him every day.
Yeah, and you told me he passed.
He passed away. I've got to say about 5 years ago.
I got in a fist fight with him in 4th grade
at
Lincoln School on the grass in the field, and he whooped my butt in 4th grade.
He got in a fight.
I never forgot it.
He got in a fight with John Cusack in front of Nichols, and he spit on John Cusack.
Oh, yeah, that's Brett.
And then Brett got caught.
And that's John too. And I hope Brett whooped John's butt. Sorry, John. You know I love you, buddy. Joan, how are you?
I was in John Cusack's parents' bedroom with this pretty girl I was dating from high school. I don't want to mention her name.
Sure.
She's probably married with kids, and her husband would be jealous. She once knew this stud.
Don't worry, Brian will say her name.
Yeah. I've already blown 3 names out here.
And I did. I told him her name the other day. Anyway, we were in the room, and I was only hoping. You know, back then you didn't get much time with girls. It was a different world. But I was hoping for something, and John Cusack came running in. He barged in, opened the door. And he turned on the light, and he's like, "Sorry, Scott." And he goes in the closet. He goes, "What the fuck are you doing, Brett?" Brett was ripping him off. He was in the parents' jewelry box, and John caught him, so that ruined my illusions.
Right, because now everybody's got to go home.
He threw Brett. It was a party at the Cusack's house.
Sure, I remember
and the Cusacks had a lot of parties, and so Brett got thrown out.
Everybody.
I wasn't guilty of it.
No.
But fast forward, I'd say a couple months, a year. I can't place a time, but Jeremy Piven's house was robbed.
Right, I remember that. I remember that.
And I'm not going to say who did it, but I was a likely suspect.
Aware.
And they took me. They took me to the police station for questioning, and the cop told me, said, "We know it's not you, but I did monetize it because they brought me everything they took, and I played the fence that day."
Right, sure.
So those are my 2 claims to fame.
Offenses, and that is the fame too, because that's. I mean, we both grew up with these people.
But I didn't do it. I didn't steal from either one of them, and I was trying really hard not to steal because I don't really like stealing. So when I was coming back and forth, Brett was rolling. And Brett was eccentric. And as Brett got older, he was a very interesting character.
Tough kid.
Chicago, everybody knew him. And so all of my best friends were rolling. So there was a vacuum when I got sucked out of that. And these guys stepped into it. And street guys do a lot of things. So I passed my customers on to other people. And they chipped me off and said, "Here's some money." And all of them promised to support me for the rest of my life.
And you're starting to move out of Chicago, right?
I was a fugitive. So I was living in Mexico. I was a fugitive for 5 years and 1 day. Did I send you the article?
I think you did.
I believe I did.
Think you did.
So I was caught.
It's part of your bio.
It is. Yeah. No. I have an image of the newspaper in Georgia where I was pulled over with a load of product, and I ran and got away. And I thought they shot me because I felt the pain, and I fell back, but I had hit a barbed wire fence, and the spike went through. No, it went right into me. And I have scars on my hands because
you got to pull yourself out of
that. And I had to flip over the fence because I needed to get as far away from them as I possibly could. And my trusted right-hand man, David, he got caught and
he talked.
No.
Okay.
No.
Dave.
No. David is a stud.
Right.
David is a guy that went down for me more times than I can count.
Strapped down.
There was one time that one of the cops there I knew, and he told me they had David strapped down. They were putting a plastic bag over his head, and the guy said his feet were moving so fast it looked like he was swimming because he was in and he was trying because they had him handcuffed behind his back and putting a plastic bag over his head. And that was because
standard procedure.
There was interrogation.
There was an armored car robbery and there was a kidnapping of a South American person. So David got pulled in on both of those for me. Do you remember the shootout at the Carson's Ribs?
Yeah, sure. That's on Ontario.
No. That was the other one.
Oh, you mean the one in Evanston?
No. Ridge and Peterson.
Ridge and Peterson.
Yeah, and
sure,
Clark Street.
I know that area.
It's Clark, Ashland, Ridge over there.
I forgot how many locations
that was October 1984.
Right.
And that is kind of the beginning of the end for me because of my involvement in that. I took the one of the probably my proudest beatings I ever took in my life. For 3 days, I took a beating over that, and that was the beginning of the end, and then I went away. There's so much, Brian.
Police were involved in this shootout, or
of course.
this was you and
it was
out of town.
It was a drug. No, I didn't get out of town. It was a drug burn gone bad. It was the police.
Oh wow!
The police were posing as drug dealers.
Oh wow!
And we were the purchasers, and everything went south. And I've had God's hand on my shoulder more times than I can count.
You're here. You're here.
Exactly. And
this is the proof.
Led me down certain paths to clip my wings. I believe that the bad that happened to me was to slow me down and give me a hint of what was coming forever.
Right.
And then when it was imminent death, that's when the hand was on there and said, "Now we're gonna make you go this way."
A little guidance.
I truly believe this with all of my heart and soul, and so I just progressively got worse. When you are in that life, it gets worse and worse. Then you become more intense, and there's a survival instinct where I rented this loft apartment on North and something. Can't remember the other street, but they filmed the first reality show there in Chicago. You remember all these people lived in that building?
Sure, yeah, it was
the real world.
The real world. I lived in that building.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
one of the girls from the club was in that show.
Okay, because this woman who was an artist, she owned it. And anyway, I made this beautiful loft apartment there. The building was absolutely massive. So I parked 3 to 4 blocks away from there, and I zigzagged through backyards. Nobody could know where I lived because I wanted to lay down and rest and sleep without having to worry about it. It was my safe haven.
Right.
And that's how it was for the rest of my life living. And then in 1987, when I had to go on the run, I left for Mexico for 4 months, and people weren't paying me because when you are a street guy and you either go away to prison or you get killed or you have to run, nobody wants to pay. You're forgotten. If I can avoid, hey, he might never come back. This might be a free gift.
We can erase this bill.
And I came back, and here I am. And
I need my money.
But I came back now at another level again, at another level. And I'm going to tell you guys a story that I haven't spoken about, and I hope the guy sees this.
Right.
And he sends in a message. It's not my most brilliant moment. There was a guy by the name of Aaron. You might know him. He was a nightclub guy, all the nightclubs.
Yeah.
And he was a drug dealer. And I was literally, and I could write a book on this alone. You know how they used to use that word or term, desperado?
Sure.
That's what you become when you're a fugitive.
Right.
When you're on the run. I'm telling you, I lived it. I felt it. You just start becoming desperate because at any moment, you're done. They've got a place surrounded, or there's a shootout because the police are hunting you down. And this is no bullshit. There were wanted posters of me, armed and dangerous, and be careful. And anyway, this guy Aaron, well, they had done me dirty a few months before that. Let's call it a year. They had traded for some product, an MG convertible to me. And I got it for my girlfriend. The transmission didn't work. So I had to have it fixed. And I gave it to my girlfriend, put it in her name, was her car. Police came, showed up at her house, took the car away. I got arrested for it. I wasn't happy with them.
No.
I wasn't the kind of person that forgot about things easily.
Right.
So I right after I got caught, before I went on the run, but I was already a hunted rat. This guy approached me. He had a big pot dealer. This guy hung out at Neo and Exit and did the scene.
Neo and everybody. So this guy could be a mark for you.
He was a mark. So and I had a vengeance. I there was something that I needed. I needed retribution, and I never mentioned to them, hey, you guys fucked me. I just had it here because I knew them well. One of them was a high school friend of ours from Evanston.
Wow, ETHS.
And so they thought they got me. Anyway, I set him up and I took his pot away. And I did it alone.
Right,
and
wow.
He knew me, so I had a person wanting to buy it. Long story short, I kicked the door in. I sprayed everybody with mace. I pulled out that dirty, hairy silver revolver, and I hit him and kicked him, and the mace was in all of our faces because lo and behold, you shouldn't spray mace in a closed room. You're going to swallow it too.
Now, kids, you hear that, right? I want you to pay attention to that. Never spray mace in a closed room.
He was living, or the deal was done in an apartment on like Berry and Sheridan.
Oh, yeah,
and I run out into the street with mace, and I'm crying, and I'm carrying 2 big black garbage bags.
You got what you came for.
I always got what I came for. And only one time, and I'm going to tell you about that.
There were tears of joy.
Right.
But I've got the revolver in one hand because I got to keep it.
And you're on Sheridan Road.
Right. No, there's a cop out there. He's directing. He's crossing kids across the street. This was broad daylight, and I had this BMW 2002 that I had double parked and running.
Yeah.
And the cop didn't notice. And then the guy Aaron came running out of the apartment. And just out of nerves, I didn't know. I threw all his stuff in the back of the car. It's all jammed. I'm sitting in there. I got the gun in the front seat. My eyes are burning. I can't breathe. And he comes running out. And he's like this. And I didn't know anything to do. I gave him the finger. It's not like the most criminal thing to do. It was just, I don't know why.
He knew your feelings. That's also a goodbye. It's a way of saying later, dude.
But here's the bad thing. Here's the bad thing. About a year later, he became a Chicago cop,
which is stunning. Why is it always these guys?
And then he started hunting me. So this was my nemesis.
Now you have a gang of blue guys looking for you.
Not only that, he became citywide narcotics. And he would tell everybody, I'm looking for one certain bad guy.
This is turning into the movie Thief with James Caan.
And it's one of the reasons that I stayed out of Chicago a lot.
Yeah.
Because now what I did is I went to, you got to understand, people don't understand this. There's a fine line between criminals and cops, especially in my day. I can't talk about it now because I don't know.
Always.
Fine line. A lot of tough guys.
Yeah.
My generation, they were all blue collar guys. I'm not going to say his name, but I loaned a copper my high school diploma because he didn't graduate high school, and
so he could get on the force,
so he could get on the force,
right?
And tough guys, and straight up tough guys, and fine line. And so I went to see one of my good trusted cop friends, and I told him what was going on with the guy. I said, I was 32 years old. This is when I kicked in that door, I was 23. And so 10 years later, this cop is out there hunting me, and he's telling people, and he's feverishly looking for me, and I'm worried about he's going to put me in a frame.
Yeah.
I'm going to get, because he can do what he wants. Sure. I'm a felon. I'm a known scumbag. I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah,
he can do what he wants,
right.
And he's got me by you know what.
Yeah.
And so I went to see my friend, and my friend doesn't even know him, but at that time, this cop was working at Ashland and Halstead. That was his station.
Sure.
And so I said, I'm going to go see Eternal Affairs.
Is that 18?
That 23.
You're 23. Right.
I'd been there many times. I took a beating there. I could tell you about that for the ages.
Wow.
So I went, and when I told him I wanted to go to Internal Affairs and get it on record. So if I get pulled over with my little mother, that I come and take her shopping and stuff.
Sure, right.
I got a backup that says this specific guy has got it out for me.
This is the reason.
And when I told the other copper, he looked at me, immediately went into defensive mode. He's like, no, we don't do that. He said, but what we're going to do, I'm going to go with you. And this is what cops call their station, their house.
Wow.
He said, we're going to go to his house. He said, because if you walk in his house alone, you're in big trouble.
Right.
He said, but you're going with me and nobody's going to do anything to you, and we're going to put it out on the table with him.
Squashed.
But we didn't do it.
Okay.
And I'm going to tell you why. Because my friend is a straight arrow and an honorable guy, and I didn't want to have him involved with me.
Get him involved, right? Could ruin his career.
Exactly.
Could
And I
career.
made that conscientious decision.
Right.
I'll eat shit, not smile, or not make any faces, and not involve him. I didn't want to put him under scrutiny
Hurt
because
his family and his career.
There were a lot of federal agents that were looking at me and into me, and I had enough problems I didn't share them, but that was a nemesis that really, really got to me.
Wow.
Could have been bad for me.
Right. Is this guy still on the force now?
I'm not sure. He might be, but I'm thinking if he got on the force in 1988 or 89, he's probably not on anymore. They usually do
20 years
or 50 years of age.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing he's not. And at this point in my life, I'm very stable. It wouldn't go well for him if he tried to do something like that to me, because I have a saying.
Well, he's retired anyway.
No, and even if he wasn't, I'll tell you this:
living on a pension, he doesn't want to mess that up.
No, not only that. When you're poor, you've got no voice and no vote.
Man, you're not kidding, brother.
There was a point in my life, and again, I'm not boasting, but I had the Black Centurion American Express card.
There it is.
Now I have a voice and a vote. so it wouldn't be good for him to push those buttons now, because I am not the same person I was. So I feel I'm redeemed. I did what I did.
Of course you are. Look at you. You're out here
Right.
expressing it.
But let me ask you.
Yeah, I got a question though. I wanted to switch it up a little bit because you do have a book coming out, right?
I do have that book.
Scott the author, right? Scott the writer. Tell us about that. Tell us about your experience with writing. Is it something you've always wanted to do while you were doing all these things?
You know what? I'm really, really grateful that you asked and you changed us up, because I could keep going. You got to.
That's what he does to me too.
Yeah, you got to turn me off.
Because Mo, you and I.
I'm really good at turning people off.
Yeah.
I've been turning everything off.
Okay, so here.
Let's get in there. Let's
here's
hear
the
about
story.
It. Yes.
Our childhood friend Brett Hodges.
Yes.
He was always partying, and he would start writing. I'm writing a book. And there were three of us. There was me.
Really?
Oh yeah. But he never did it.
Okay.
And
wait, real quick too. How old was Brett when he passed?
He passed about 5 years ago, so
goodness.
he would have been
55,
56.
56.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so there were three of us: me, Brett Hodges, and Whacker.
LD Hurd.
Whacker LD. Whacker was a notorious street guy, notorious prison figure, gang leader, and shot caller, and all that stuff. We were partners since we were little, and we had an agreement: nobody's going to talk, nobody's going to tell a story while the other two are still alive.
Oh, okay.
They both passed
including
away.
writing a book. Oh, so now you are free to express
The
yourself.
prophecy has been fulfilled.
There you go. So
Wow.
they're both gone,
and you kept your word.
Well, I'm gonna. There's a guy out there. He's good buddies with Mel Chansey.
Okay.
His name is John Romano.
Mel, how are you?
Mel, how are you?
Good to
You and
see
I
you.
are gonna get together soon.
Yes, we are.
John Romano was gonna hook us up, and John Romano called me up. John Romano is a writer. He was the senior editor of Muscular Development magazine.
Wow.
He was the guy that used to be on an ESPN program with an apron and a chef's hat.
Oh, yeah.
And cooking on TV, bodybuilder.
I know what you're talking about.
And John called me up. He knows all. He doesn't know all of my stories. We need a long time, but he knows most of it. John called me up whenever it was that the biker series, Sons of Anarchy, came out.
Yeah, sure.
Called me up and he said, Scott, I remember because at that time I was living in the John Hancock. I was walking outside, coming into my door, and John called me. So I paused and I stood outside and talked to him. And he said, Scott, I just saw this program, Sons of Anarchy.
Wow.
You got to write your story, man.
Okay.
You've got to get it out there. He said, your life makes these guys look like Boy Scouts.
Right.
And I said, yeah, my life.
Especially
Who cares
with
about
the popularity of that series?
But
You saw an opportunity.
I never saw value in it because I lived it, never talked about it.
Right.
I'm a secretive person. I'm a private person. I didn't have social media.
You had to be.
Right.
Right.
But because
most guys like you don't have social media, and now you have to.
It's in my soul.
Right.
So then this book, I smuggled Cuban cigars. starting, I don't know, early mid-90s to the end, 1999, somewhere around there, 2000, somewhere around there, I started doing the cigars. And when I stopped doing it, I said, I'm going to write a book. And I sat down the old-fashioned way with a pen and paper. I started writing. And I still have it. So I still have, there's 2 different notebooks I have. Wow, I probably completed about 50 pages of handwritten. Then I bought a little tape recorder, and I would do long-distance drives, and I would dictate into it stories. And then I would hear songs on the radio. Then I drink coffee. I'm a hypersensitive person because I'm so healthy. Giving me coffee is like giving me blow.
I can imagine.
Sure.
And I'm
like, yeah, I'm
right.
very similar to that.
And my heart starts beating, and I can OD on coffee.
Right.
I can OD on decaf. So I'm writing and telling these stories, and then I sit there and I sit back and I say, you know what? Gangsters don't talk. They don't tell their story. You swallow it and you go, you die with it. And both Wacker and Brett were still alive, but this doesn't hurt anybody. There's nothing ugly in here. There's some crime, there's some action and adrenaline, but there's not the heavy stuff that we were talking about a little while.
Okay.
It's exciting and it's awesome. So I put it on a shelf, and one of my friends made fun of me. He made fun of me like, yeah, I'm gonna write a book. Cares about you book, because people who don't accomplish anything, all they can do is criticize. And I filed it away, and it's true.
Yes.
And I built a life.
God bless.
I became the master franchise of Gold's Gym for Mexico. I opened 6 gyms of my own. I owned them.
Wow.
And I franchised another, it was a total of 34 with my 6. So I franchised 28. I managed them. I created a fitness equipment company. I actually created my own monopoly. They had to buy everything from me: the souvenirs, the T-shirts, everything to do with the protein bars.
Right during the workout craze that just
I jumped right on it, and I still sell fitness equipment, and I still have a health club, and anyway, so fast forward a couple years ago, I started having high anxiety. Like it was getting to me. You got to write. You got to tell your story. And it was a voice in my head. It wasn't conscious. It wasn't me. It was inside. I would wake up at 5 a.m, bang, gotta write. And I didn't know, what do I do? How do I start? I talked to John Romano, and he said, look, bro, go and buy a laptop, because I didn't even own a laptop. I don't know how to use one. I have an iPad.
Same.
So I went and bought a big iPad with a keypad, and he told me, download Pages. It's an Apple app, and it's free. Download Pages.
Helps you become an author.
And he says, well, there's a lot of steps in between that. So he said, download that and write 1 page a day. Just try and get 1 page a day. Long story short.
He writes.
Oh, you do? Yeah. Took me 27 months to write this manuscript. It was 150,000 words by the time I was done with it, because I didn't want to skip a detail. And I made a mistake. In the beginning, I sat down and I tried to write it chronologically, and I got lost. Okay. So I got at about page 12, it's like, okay, well, did I already write that? What happened? Yeah. Oh, it was killing me. I would sit there and swear at the iPad and fuck, and then and what I started doing in my iPhone, you have that notepad.
Okay.
Yes. And I started, I'm going to make a video about this. Maybe you're going to be the one to help me. You're a writer. I want to do an instructional video. This is, the do's and don'ts for dummies. Well, this is how to write a book if you're stupid. Because there you go.
But that's it. I mean, that everybody who wants to write.
It's the meat and potatoes.
Right.
And so what I did is I took my notes and I would put comments. So first trip to Cuba, and then I put the first girl I met, Diami, and then I put the National Hotel. Then I put the Salon Rojo, and then I put El Malecón, and then I put Jinetera, and I would just put names and titles.
You're story building,
and I'm story building, and so I've got this a lot. I have it here, so I can show it to you.
Which is also a timeline.
No. It was out of timeline, but then on a flight, when I'm bored and going out of my mind, because I can't sit still, I'm that person, out of my mind.
It's got to be tough to be in an airplane.
Yeah, right.
It's tough for me to be anywhere, except if I'm talking. If I'm talking, leave me alone.
Release. It's the release.
That's why I'm going to do well with podcasts.
Yes.
So I put it in chronological order on a plane, and so cut, paste, copy, and bang, 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 and then I looked and I go, now I can write. So I transferred that onto my iPad.
Right.
I put it in chronological order in a new page. And then I started dissecting those 30, 50 pages I already had, and I put those where they belonged, and now it became easy.
Nice.
And now it
figured it out.
Now it and then 150,000 words. I sent it to John Romano. John Romano is married. He writes. He's an editor for a magazine. He has a podcast. Took him 4 months to get back to, but who am I? He's doing me a favor because this is not my world. I'm not in the literary world. Where do I go? Where do I start? And he edited it. He gave it back. I read it in one bite. I added 11,000 words to it because he had removed and I didn't know how to even edit. So I figured out how to turn the letters red. So the new stuff, they were in red print. Okay. I had changed the font size and style a few times, so it was all messed up.
But you were starting to get in there, though, because you know how to cut, copy, and paste, and now you're learning.
I figured it out. And I kept going, 150,000 words. He does it. He sends it back to me 3 times. I send it to a couple different people that are avid readers, and they read it, and they go, yeah, it's pretty good, Scott. And I go, you know what? My wife said, why don't we do something? I want you to grab your original chapter and let's take a chapter that he redid. And we did that one night, sitting around when my kids went to sleep, and we're comparing them. She's like, it's not your voice. It's gotta be your voice.
So the editing was taking away from. So was this John Romano helping you?
Yes, it was
edit?
John Romano. He was turning it into John Romano's edit, not Scott's edit.
Right.
And then I reached out. This is what I did. I don't follow anybody online. There's people that I if I see something I like of theirs, but I don't follow just anyone in particular. But David Goggins is a person that that I look at David Goggins. I respect him. He's interesting.
Cat.
We speak similarly. When I'm in private between David Goggins and Andrew Tate, that's who I am.
Okay.
I'm the fuck you guy. So
like Eddie Murphy.
So I'm looking at David, and if you ever see this, you're not an easy guy to get along with, I believe. And I said, either am I.
Right.
And I had to figure out who was his publisher.
Kindred Souls.
Oh, okay. I said, if they could deal with David, they can handle me. And just by the way, I lost a couple editors along the way with the publishing company.
I would imagine.
And I called him up and I go, that fucking pussy. What did you guys give me? Howdy fucking doody. He took all the crime out of the book. He turned me into a traveling salesman. Okay, so I'm a guy schlepping a bag of cigars. That's not interesting. Put the robbery in there. I hung this guy out of the fucking window when he wouldn't pay me.
Right.
Don't give away the book.
That's not appropriate.
Right.
That's not appropriate. I go,
not appropriate.
But that's the truth.
And look how interesting Suge Knight is. We all know that Suge Knight story.
And that's who I am.
Right.
And so because of David Goggins, I found out that he uses Scribe Media. And so I
Scribe, sure.
I went to Scribe, and they have Lion Crest Publishing and Houndstooth. So I'm published under Houndstooth, and they're all over David now because he's a superstar.
Sure.
But maybe one day they'll be sorry that they didn't treat me a little better.
All right. We got some connections around here, my friend.
We'll see about that. And so anyway, I get together with them. I get the editors, and I change. And finally, I got this amazing editor now. But I realized, and I didn't know it, that this was innocence. There's a couple points where there were speed bumps in my road. They were revelations. So I thought that you scribble out your story. It's awesome because the stories I have. And then a person who's actually a writer, because I will not pretend to be a writer. I'm not a writer, but I'm a guy with a story to tell. I'm an author. And I thought, I'm going to get you. And you and I are going to go out to coffee, and we're going to drink, and we're going to smoke a cigar, and we're going to talk, and you're going to come up with these ideas, and it's just going to be a masterpiece. Because where I come from and what I believe in, whenever I've done anything in my life, I am a consummate professional. I am going to be the best. And so I thought every writer is going to be great because that's what they do and that's my mindset.
But they're not.
No, it's not. It's not true.
Right.
So when I got he took my 150 word manuscript and he broke it down to 50,000 words. I read it in one night. I read over it. I was in Mexico City and I was in a hotel and I was sick. And I think it's the medication I was taking for the cold that had me super jacked. I got on my I didn't have my iPad with me. But I have two phones. So between my two phones, I was copying, pasting, and I was comparing. I didn't sleep for 2 days. I mean, took some naps, but
I've been there before.
I was geeked out and going. It had to be the medicine, the cold medicine.
Right, sure,
Maybe ephedra's in there. I don't know.
Sure.
And I was going, and I got on the phone with my publishing manager, and I was fighting, and this, and this, and this. And so the chief editor said, I'm going to meet with Scott on Monday. This was on a Thursday. I'm going to meet with Scott on Monday. Scott and I are going to edit it together. We're going to go through it and we're going to do it. Between Sunday and Monday, I did the edit myself.
You did it yourself after all that.
I did it myself.
Because you had to.
Because I had to.
Because you had to.
I had.
Nobody cares more about your project than you. Nobody. Nobody. That's why we're here. That's why we're here.
And I did it myself. Yep. I sent it back to him, and it was 77,000 words. And he's like, "What happened, Scott?" And I said,
"You cut it down from 150 to 77."
77.
Yeah.
I took what was necessary because I didn't know 77 is still like 300 pages.
Yeah.
So
it's a big book. Yeah.
So I did it all myself. Got it back to him, and he's like, "Wow, man, this is a wrap." But let's send it back to the editor. He goes, "We're going to send it back to the same guy because he's good, Scott. Because now he'll cross the T's and dot the I's and then
without diluting the grit.
Yes,
and the
no. He didn't take
story.
anything out. He just did editorial work with spelling and maybe that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's his job.
And then he sent it back. So we worked together in harmony for 4 more passes where I added a part about Brett in there that was absolutely dynamic.
My childhood friend.
And we went back and forth, and then finally it's a wrap. And then it goes to Q&A, and then it's months of Q&A.
Oh wow!
And the book cover, I designed myself.
I love it.
Nice.
So
yeah, I do like that.
I originally designed it. But it was a rough thing.
Great title.
And then they gave me a real designer, a New York graphic designer, a well-known guy, and he said, "You have any ideas?" And I sent him my rough draft. And he goes, "Great." And we worked off of that. He just polished it up a little because I wanted the ash to be orange.
Sure.
I wanted smoke coming up. And smoke was a name I thought about since 20 years ago. So here you go. Here's something that's significant. While I was on that medicine in the cold,
right,
because of the cold, I finished the other 3 manuscripts.
Oh, wow.
I punched them out. I'm going to say 2 months of not sleeping, bathing, eating, paying attention to my business. I would throw balls of paper at anybody that came near my bedroom door.
You're turning into Hemingway.
I don't know. It sounds like you're a writer.
I became
it sounds like you're a writer to me.
I became obsessed.
Yeah.
I became obsessed, and it was just bang, bang, bang. And I would go out to lunch.
Right.
And my mind was back at home at my desk, and I wanted to get back, and I just write notes. I got to put this note. And then I read over it, and I change it. So this book will be out on January 27th.
Yes.
And I am
your story.
I am humbled, and I can't believe it. I'm getting nervous. I'm getting nervous because I know.
Nervous?
I know.
Right?
No, we'll call it. I'm excited.
Right.
I'm a little excited. I'm not
this
nervous.
Is
really.
Your story, and you know what? I mean, are you thinking about maybe turning this into a screenplay and getting that kind
who
of
will play you in the movie?
John Bernthal. John Bernthal.
John Bernthal is going to play Mel.
Yeah, that's right. I think John Bernthal will be great for your character too.
Yeah, you know, when I was younger,
can we share?
When I was younger, I looked like I used to look like Tom Cruise.
Okay.
So when I was young, we resembled each other.
Yeah.
Now I'm old. You could actually put anybody in it because I'm unknown. So just,
all right.
But the natural progression is screenplay. And do you think you've learned how to screenplay right also as well?
No,
and there is an app for that.
I mean, I have I'm very creative. I'm good with architecture. I love architecture. I'm like an aficionado of architecture. When you have a certain level of intelligence, you can learn anything that you care about.
Right.
So
nobody cares more about your project.
If I'm
than
interested in something, I can get deep. And, if you tell me, you want to learn about this plant, absolutely not. You wouldn't, if you had a gun at my head.
Well, right.
I'm not doing it.
Because it's not what that's not your passion. Your passion is your life and this story that's honed and created.
I've been told, Brian, that I'm a good storyteller.
You're great.
I agree.
We're sitting here for an hour.
This isn't coming from me. People have told me, so I don't want people to think, oh, he's high on himself. I've been told, and you guys should watch this. I'm going to send it to you if you haven't seen it. Have you seen Joe Rogan on the Tom Green podcast?
Yes.
Have you seen that?
The original, where he talks.
Where he's like, you can make money doing this?
Right.
All I gotta do is talk and drink beer with your
Green
friends.
started it, right?
Tom,
he started this.
And so it all starts somewhere.
Right.
And the only thing that starts at the top is a hole.
Right.
Everything else stops at the bottom and works its way up.
Wow.
And I've done 15 podcasts so far.
Right.
I'm doing my weekly podcast together with my partner and my buddy El Vampiro. Are you familiar with him?
I'm not sure.
He's the wrestling legend.
Yeah.
Yeah, come on.
He's got the right.
No, he doesn't wear a mask.
He doesn't wear a mask.
No, he had the dreadlocks. Yeah. First person to ever pin Hulk Hogan.
Wow.
So shout out to Vampiro.
Vampiro.
We were roommates.
Right. Mel's good friend Hulk Hogan, by the way.
You were
Terry Bollero. No, Mel was like neighbors.
Mel is out there.
Yeah, right.
Mel is out there in the world now, so he knows a lot of people.
Sure.
And is Mel from Chicago?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Mel's from probably South Side, probably Calumet, that area.
Okay.
Yeah,
so it's not really Chicago, Mel.
Okay. Well, wait a minute. Hold on.
A lot of people been throwing that at me because our first corners that I started for the Royals on the far north side, was Tui and Ridge.
Tui and Ridge.
And people are going, Tui and Ridge, a gang. When we were young, there was a period of time where Rogers Park was really bad.
Sure, and the orphanage is right down the street.
It was right down the street. I lived there.
Right.
So
right by Pratt.
No, it's on Devon. Devon and Ridge.
Right.
And then I started Farwell and Clark, and some people are like, I don't even know who you are. And God bless.
But you're changing, man.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to stay in that same place all my life.
No.
I'm not that person that's going to one accomplishment.
Right.
I'm multifaceted. I have different interests, and I'm going to grow with it. So I wrote this book. Then I pumped out those others. My fifth book, my second book is going to be about my life from criminality, from my first burglary.
Right.
At 6 years old.
Jiminy.
Until 17 and a half when...
That was my mom's purse, my first criminality.
At 17, I guess you would call it my profession was robbing hookers. So that's what I was doing at 17. It was pretty lucrative.
How vaguely familiar.
Wait a second.
And then from 17 and a half, it was robbing drug dealers and it was real criminality. And then 5 years of fugitive. How many people do you know that were wanted by the DEA, the Secret Service, the FBI, the Marshals, ATF,
US Marshals,
and Interpol?
Yeah.
For 5 years I lasted because the lawyer told me, we need you to disappear. If you can stay out of the crosshairs for 5 years,
it'll calm down.
No, it changes. Statute of limitations runs out to charge my partner. And if he's not charged, I can blame it on him. He can blame it on me. It's all over.
Hearsay. Jailhouse lawyer right here.
And so what happened is you'll look at that newspaper article I sent you, and if I didn't, I'm going to send it.
Thank you.
Do you guys do pop-ups and clips and stuff?
Well, that's going to be in the editing, of course, which these two, their domain.
So I was officially caught on January 18th, 1987.
That's almost today.
I was like, happy anniversary.
And I was officially recaptured January 19th, 1992. 5 years and a day. And that's not from me. I have the newspaper article from Georgia to back that up. This isn't just like, yeah, right. And that was, I think, one of the urgencies. I felt compelled. There was something inside of me saying, tell your story. And I would remember with John Romano, there were a couple people that, look, I'm not the kind of guy that gets inspired. I don't need a fire under my ass to get going. But John Romano instigated, pushed me a little. You got to tell it. Come on, tell it, tell it. And then Michael Francis. Look, Michael Francis is
he's on every podcast in the world.
But not only that, he's a very well-spoken, smooth guy.
Sure.
That is an ambassador right there. And that is, although I probably did a lot more heavy things than him.
Good friend of the Calabrese family,
he was the real deal.
Right.
His father was the triple real deal.
Yeah, Kirk Calabrese was my roommate for many years.
Oh, really?
Yeah. We'll talk about that on another time. And speaking of which.
So Michael's talking.
Yeah.
So if he can tell his story,
right.
I feel like it's okay to tell mine. I'm not betraying the oath, the order of criminality.
Right. I think you're going to be maybe the hottest author in the United States when this is all said and done.
I think you're going to
I
hope so.
I think your screenplay is destined for the silver screen, if not Netflix, if whatever. And we've got the people that we know in common who can make that happen.
Can I share my handle here?
Yeah, of course you can. Please,
for those of me
do.
that almost nobody knows me, I've got 3 followers. My handle is Scott Anthony OG. So I'm on everywhere right now.
Sure.
I'm on. You guys know about the names more than I do. I even forget the names.
We'll find you.
We'll find you. Listen, I mean, for once in your life, you're finally going to be found. You're not going to be on the run. Now you're presenting everything you ran from.
If
you're presenting it now.
If you will.
Yeah, you want to be found.
You know why?
I believe I was found.
You know why? Because your life is interesting. Because interesting lives make interesting stories. And that's why we're alive, to listen to great stories, to listen to the Chicago Style Podcast. I'm your host, Brian Schyler. Murph in the morning, Alex Alvarado. Wow. Known as Al Damon. I'm so sorry. Speaking of, buddy, never rob a bank. Never rob a bank with me. And I'll tell you something.
That game's my twin.
If you want to rob a bank, you and I'll sit down and talk.
That's right. The most interesting man in the world. The most interesting man in the world, Scott Anthony, right here. And you thought it was the guy from the
Dos Equis.
Dos Equis, right?
And I am Chicago. And you want to hear something funny?
Yeah.
John Romano. He always called me the Dos Equis guy.
You're the most interesting man in the world.
Dos Equis, the most interesting man in the world. And John, you owe me that video. He was going to make a video from John Romano saying, my friend Scott Anthony is the most interesting man in the world.
Well, you are. Look at this, man. And this story, and then the 4 more books you have coming. If it's not 5.
I have 3 more coming.
Okay.
And I also wrote the 5th manuscript, and that was about my divorce. I had the world's worst divorce, and that is going to be my best book ever because I'm going to be able to get on the manosphere and talk about
the manosphere. I love it.
And talk and talk about how terrible divorce is and how there's nothing in it for men.
Hurts people.
All the bad things
hurts
and
us.
all the bad karma that I accumulated, well, she made me pay for it, and with interest.
Wow. Yeah.
And so I have that manuscript done. That's 150,000 words also, but I'm saving that, the best for last.
For your next time here.
Because when I do that, I want to be a really good writer because I don't want to mess it up.
Yeah.
Because that is for the world. The crime, it might not be for everybody.
Okay.
I'm telling you, Brian.
But everybody gets divorced and everybody's married and everybody has relationships.
Each one of my
beautiful
books,
children. And look at you.
I have 8 children.
You have 8. God bless.
Wow.
God bless.
And I have 2-year-old twins. Beautiful twins. I have done my job.
Right.
I've helped populate the planet.
Say, you're a populator. We appreciate you.
They're all multilingual.
Right.
And
as Michael Jackson once said, I'm a lover, not a fighter. But he's both. Tito, no, don't make fun of me. I love you. It's amazing that you and I bonded on the phone while you were in England. And by the way,
I had to call you when I saw that video. I couldn't hold off.
And amazing that you were about to step on the what do they call it over there? The tube, the train, and go see Harry Potter, the actual set.
I wasn't gonna let him know that we're from the same place and we know each other. I was going to spring it on him here.
Right.
And then I couldn't hold it in. I said,
amazing.
I said, we got to share this moment. And we spoke for more than an hour.
That's
and
awesome.
we went back and forth reminiscing and names and places. And and it's really cool. And if it wasn't for Evanston, I would be dead.
Me too.
Evanston,
Me too.
I could write that book.
Shout
Evanston,
out to Evanston,
saved my life.
Right.
Yes, thank you,
That's
Evanston.
That's how you do it. You get out
Lincoln
of Chicago.
Elementary.
Lincoln Elementary, that's right.
I went to my class reunion, 2002. Everybody did well. Everybody from our area did well.
1982, there was a small graduation token that class left up on. Now, if you go to Evanston Township High School, and I know a lot of people haven't, okay, even the guys, even the guy, right? Oh, Mr. Joe giving me my tomatoes in a brown paper bag. That's another show. Joe Lombardo. I love
Joey
Mr.
the Clown.
Yeah, Joey the Clown. I drove him for 3 years.
Awesome.
And he used to give me a brown paper bag full of tomatoes, but everybody thought it was something else, and I ended up getting in an odd situation with certain people over that, including law enforcement.
I stayed away from the mob guys because they're really selfish.
I just came up with
it's
them.
all money.
Yeah.
They get their hooks in you.
Sure.
And
all I did was play him in chess.
And I'm a Mitigan.
Right, Mitigan.
Because my mother's Italian, my father wasn't.
Right.
And you're always going to be an outsider.
Right.
And anybody out there, I want to make another thing pretty crystal clear. Crime is all about the money.
Sure.
It's all about the money. People can talk about the family. They can talk about everything. It's all about the money.
Well, your mom said there's no honor among thieves, and my mom did too.
And it's every man for himself.
Yeah.
Every guy out there is trying to get what's coming to him.
Right. And even if you have something, your best friend who's part of your team may want that to take that from you if they're sitting there with the wheels turning thinking about it.
And loose lips sink ships.
Yeah.
Tony Accardo had a saying, fish with his mouth open gets caught. And a secret is only kept between two people if one is dead.
And a fish never gets caught if he never opens his mouth. Right. That's
smaller crew.
From the Pickle Barrel restaurant. Howard and Western. Howard and Western, ladies and gentlemen. The Pickle Barrel Restaurant.
I remember it well.
Yeah.
They had the barrel right for the front door when you walked in.
The Pickle Barrel Restaurant. I used to attend the Pickle Barrel Restaurant quite often for a guy named Tracy Lamb. And while I'm sleeping in the second aisle or underneath the stage at the Coronet Theater, Evanston, Illinois, I'm sure this man was walking by or on his bicycle.
I'd gone to the theater there a couple times.
And I worked there with all my friends.
The old school little tiny theaters.
Right.
The Adelphi, the 400.
Wow, the 400 twin Berwyn, the Berwyn. Yeah, sure. Wow.
Old
and then the big
school.
one right near Loyola, the Granada. The Granada.
Do you remember Bert Epstein?
Yes.
I worked there. We worked at Todd Rundgren and Utopia.
Wow.
We were security. We worked security. Bert was running that.
Yes.
I was probably
the
15.
Valencia, the Viceroy Theater in Evanston. The Varsity.
The Varsity on Central?
Right.
I have a story about that one too.
Mustard's Last Stand.
Similar to where you worked?
Yeah, sure.
I have a story about the Varsity.
We got to listen. Folks, we're going to do that on another time. We've ran a little long today, but that's because of the interest, the hometown interest, and the singularity and the uniqueness of this story with this man, Scott Anthony, on the Chicago Style Podcast.
Can I do a shout out?
Yes, of course you can.
I want to close with something.
Yes.
Because I just want to say, I was born and raised in Chicago. I am Chicago.
Yes.
Everywhere I go around the world, I say Chicago with pride. When they say, where are you from?
Don't know.
It comes from right here. I'm from Chicago. And I've had people say, oh, you say it from the soul.
Sure.
And I have this thing. I have two things. The one thing is traveling around and people will say, I'll say to someone, I'll meet them, wherever, where are you from? Chicago. I'll go, yeah, what neighborhood? I'm from Schauberg. And I go, wait.
Tinley Park.
You're not from Chicago.
Right, Glen Ellen.
And then I have another one.
Yeah, the mean streets of Wheaton, Illinois, ladies and gentlemen.
Howard From, the Rolex King of Chicago.
You want to buy a watch?
I ask
God
people.
Bless Howard From.
I say, if you don't know Howard, you're not from Chicago.
No, that's the truth. That's the truth, because you have to know that. There's just things about Chicago that are singular. I hate to say that, use the same word again. Burt Wyman, your TV Ford man.
Perillo.
Joe Perillo. Of course, Joe, thank you so much, Mr. Perillo.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Perillo.
Thank you.
I bought a car from you once.
Thank you, Stan Wozniak, of course.
Cuomo. Is Cuomo still there?
Yeah, sure. Wow, that's amazing. I got to tell you something. Singularity about Chicago names. Fraser Thomas, WGN, Ringmaster Ned, Giggle
Carey.
Gary, hey, Jack Brickhouse. There's things about Chicago, Harry Carey,
that only we know and understand.
That's right. The great Walter Payton. Things like that. And guys, I know there's a lot of people watching this show from all around the country, Chicagoans, expats who live in Miami, who live in New Jersey, a lot of Chicagoans live in Arizona.
Yes,
right, a lot of Chicagoans live in Arizona.
Can you blame anybody
Florida,
for running away from the weather?
No, it's 3 degrees outside.
Yeah.
Don't forget our London viewers, Germany.
That's right, the London.
And
Hi, Dad.
Amsterdam.
Yeah. We're going to talk.
Yeah. We international viewers.
Amsterdam. And we have a special friend, Ms. Prez. Ms. Prez is in Turkey right now. That's right.
You calling Turkey?
We were going to hit Turkey. I said, why are you going to Turkey? Chicken? That's right. A great line from the Spaceballs.
Yes.
What's the matter, Colonel Sanders? Chicken?
Chicken.
Guys, we love you. Chicago Style Podcast.
Thanks
we're running
for watching
long today. And we're going to have Scott Anthony back. If he'll have us, please come back with new material, new book. And that's right.
There we go.
And the family itself, of course. Scott Anthony family.
Thanks, Scott Anthony.
And just flew in from London. That's right. To do this
I
show.
actually went out to London for a podcast.
That's right. And you can see that. And what was that podcast?
That is the Terry Stone Connection.
Terry Stone Connection.
And here's something.
Right.
I was the second foreigner ever on that show.
Wow.
And the guy who preceded me is none other than Michael Francis.
Wow. Holy cow.
All right. That ends it, everybody.
That's right.
All right.
See y'all.
Take care.
Thank you so
much. We're
much.
We're going to end on the table. Be careful. Here comes the table. It's going up, everybody.
Oh, wait a minute, Governor. Miracle. Wow.
Miracle.
Wait a minute.
We got the table
Is this the
fixed,
Last
everybody.
Supper?
Season 2.
That's right. We
All
love
right.
you. We love you.
Bye, everybody.
City lights, they shimmer bright at night. The wind, it howls, it holds you tight. Feet hit the pavement, the rhythm's alive. Welcome to the beat of Chicago style. Oh, Chicago style. It's bold, it's true. We're dreaming.